Hello, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today is Theodora. Thank you. I sometimes known as Emma. And we're going to talk about why we don't know what works in B2B marketing anymore, which is an interesting subject. I always ask my guests so they can get their pitch in before everything starts. Where can people find you?
Hi, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
Find me on Twitter because that's where I live. I'm on Twitter almost every day. I take breaks, but I'm almost every day on Twitter, and I have Twitter on my phone, and I tweet a lot, and rarely about content marketing, mostly about life and gardening, because why not? But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on LinkedIn, but mostly on Twitter. I mean, if you need an answer to something, Twitter is the place for you.
And spell your name.
That's a spelling contest now.
It is a spelling test all the way through. In fact, yeah.
Okay. As you can find me on Twitter, I need to check because I don't remember. Just 1 second. I really need to remember because I don't remember. If it was just Emma or Theodora, so I think it's just Emma, but just to check. This was a surprise question. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, is EMAPIRCIU.
Right.
Emma Virtue.
Okay. PIRCIA is your second.
CIU.
Yeah. So now we've got the name out of the way. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Oh, I started many years ago as a journalist, and then I switched countries. And when I switched countries, I started a new adventure because I didn't speak the local language, so I couldn't work as a journalist anymore. And I needed something, like to keep me busy, and I needed a job. And what do you do when you want a job but you don't speak the local language? You go online. So that's how I found out about freelancing. I started as a freelance writer and basically built myself as a content writer at first, content marketer after, and now as a content marketing strategist. Of course, having a background in journalism and having studied marketing really helped. I mean, I'm not one of those people who will say you can learn everything from YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn. No, going to school is important. And I would be where I am today if I hadn't studied journalism before, or if I hadn't had a background in marketing.
And your English is superb. Which you're Romanian, but you're living in Italy.
Yes.
I mean, I've said to you before, the Romanian country have just done a fantastic job at teaching English in that country. I mean, certainly at the previous company that I worked at, corporate company, they offshored all their back office there because it was the country that had the best English speaking people in Europe.
Well, thank you. And now you're going to make me cry, because I know we had this conversation before, but every time someone talks about my English, I think back at my English teacher. I had the same English teacher since I was 7 until I was 14. I mean, it's normal that you get to learn a language when you have the same person to watch over you for so many years. And then working with an international let's say network of clients. I have clients in Australia, in I don't know, Scotland, in the other places in the UK, in the US, I mean in Germany. So I had the opportunity to use this language a lot. But yeah, I think I owe everything to my English teacher. And actually, it's funny because I wrote an article once, a letter from my English teacher that was published at some point. I was so very happy and proud when I was able to send her the link.
So tell me, let's go back to marketing. Tell me what's changed. Why has it changed? Why don't we know what's working in B2B marketing anymore?
Oh, because we have changed. We have changed so much. I mean, like, it's B2B, but it's people to people, and it's people producing content for other people who spend the money of other people mostly. So there are so many people involved, and we've all changed, like individuals and at the community level, at the organizational level.
And is that because we've moved online? We're now used to using online. Is that because of COVID and therefore we all went and started working from home? Or is it an accumulation of all those things, do you think?
I think it's a bit of everything. Like I was working online even before the pandemic hit, but I was more of an exception back then, and
Yeah.
I was like struggling to educate people about the fact that working from home wasn't actually, sitting on the couch and watching TV all day. Now we're all working from home, and we're all. I think we're allowed, and I'm allowed to say we're a bit traumatized
Mm.
by what happened to us, and companies as well. Like as entities, they're a bit traumatized. Some of them have lost people on the way. Some of them had to let people go when they couldn't, keep up with everything, or they had to be, I don't know, closed for months. Um, I don't think we can so easily move over and overcome these challenges. And then when we can finally see the light, and say, yeah, we started to have the talk whether to go back to the office or work from home. And when we created these hybrid workplaces that we're trying so hard to make it work for them, and on top of everything else, now we're like heading for a recession. And companies are again put in a weird situation in which they might have to let people go or put projects on pause, maybe projects in which they've invested like, resources and energy. And I think there are so too many things happening at once.
Yeah.
And if you don't lead with empathy, and if you don't show yourself vulnerable at the same time, because everybody is vulnerable right now. I mean, from big brands to, I don't know, the newest startup. And that's why I think that many things that we used to do in content marketing for B2B don't work anymore, because too much has changed. So we can't just go back to writing content as usual and producing the same kind of content and trying the same lead generation tricks that used to work a few years back.
Do you think that's, in the past, what we've done, we've all gone to the market and say, buy my product because it's great. And what happens is that everybody says that. My background is selling accounting systems, and if you look at all of the accounting system, they call themselves ERP vendors, but it's just a smart name for accounting systems. They all go to the market and say exactly the same thing. So the buyer then becomes confused.
Well, I like to believe that every product is great for its audience. So the fact that you go and say, yeah, buy my product because it's great, is pretty much like saying the water is wet. It's going to be great for your ideal audience. But
Yeah.
it's actually not saying anything. You don't add any kind of value. And at the same time, the person who will find, or the people who will find that product great, won't even know you're talking to them. So I think the main and the most important point in any content marketing strategy, B2B especially at this point,
Yeah.
is to understand and to make it easy to understand for the reader, for the people who consume your content, whether it's video or audio, who's the target audience? Who's this product for? If you manage to the product is for, who the content is for, and the right people read your content, consume your content, get in touch with your brand, they will know it will be love at first sight mostly, because there's a market for everything. You just need to understand where is your everything on that market.
And do you think that, so when you say you found the right person to consume that content, do you think that people are consuming content differently?
Yes. That I
And
mean,
is that a shift to mobile, or is that they're just we're shorter of time, or what is it why is it that people are consuming things differently? And I'm saying differently as in before the pandemic, so before 2019.
there are so many factors involved. I mean, first of all, we are different people, so our habits have changed, and that is something that we can't ignore. And I think that we are all aware, like individually, how the pandemic has changed us. So we can just expect, and like you can't tell for sure what happens in other people's minds, but it's selfish to believe that that pandemic has only changed you as an individual. It
Yeah.
changed everybody, and of course, the habit of consuming content has changed as well for every one of us. But at the same time, so besides that, during the pandemic, I don't have any statistics, I don't remember them by heart, but during this pandemic, we've produced so much more content and
Mm.
we've consumed more content than ever before because we had so much time, and yeah, for some, it's not, I'm not going to say like during the pandemic I read so many market reports and so much market research. No, we consumed all kinds of content, more podcasts, more webinars, more online courses, personal development, how to build a personal brand, how to reinvent yourself during the pandemic, and how to survive after the pandemic is over, how to shift to, I don't know, working from home. We had to relearn so many things about our lives, and this process involved consuming so much content. So at this point, probably we're like somehow oversaturated. So we're not so curious anymore. We have higher standards, let's say. It's like when you have so much great food all the time. The more
Yeah,
great food you have, the pickier you become.
yeah,
So and at a company level, this is also important because when you do research for the company, to buying new products for the company, you will read so much content that is not always like fifth grade level. You're going to tons of reports. There are companies now that produce customized content for the prospects. So you would have to read that with paying attention to the numbers, trying to understand whether this potential provider has nailed everything and understands your specifics. So the content is better, and our expectations are also better. When I'm saying the content is better, like our competitors content is better sometimes. So yeah, I think that it's not like the internal change, but also the competition on content has changed as well, and everybody who's paying attention is getting better at this game.
and I know when we talked in the prep session, you talked about the fact that some content projects have failed recently.
Yes, and
And why is that? Because I think it's important that we talk about it and get and discuss those things, because the worst thing that we can do is tell everybody is everything's great.
yes, no. So last time we talked, I had a few content projects that were failing. In the meantime, I got one that went great. So let's say that there's a balance there. But yes, some content marketing projects failed because we tried to use, let's say, the information, the data, and the methodology that we started using closer to the beginning of the pandemic. We didn't shift the message enough. We didn't shift the templates enough. Everything was like, yeah, everything is great. We can still use this. And I think the other thing that we somehow didn't nail was how the client's audience had changed,
Yeah.
and how their specific needs have changed now that they're heading towards a recession, and they need to be, let's say, more intentional about how they spend their resources and what kind of people they want to work with and how much of their processes they need to outsource. So I think we didn't nail that message because we didn't realize how worried people were about this recession. We just assumed that, yeah, it's a very sophisticated audience, and they were so worried about the recession, and the fact that the new experiments showed that actually that was a major issue. We weren't empathetic enough about
And do you think? I mean, empathy. I think that before COVID, things were very, very product orientated in terms of features and benefits. Now, what I'm seeing is people being far more empathetic, as in actually saying we are human beings. So even though you're buying an accounting system, you're buying it from people. Are you seeing that as well?
well, let's stick to your accounting system, but I don't have a I
I'm
don't.
only saying it because accounting systems are boring. Okay, so
Who cares? I mean, like, it's
you
boring for
start
me.
from boring and move up to exciting.
If I need it, it's not boring anymore. Is the only thing I'm interested in. I've spent
True.
no, maybe that wasn't a good example of what I wanted to give, because I'm actually interested in. I wrote an article about tomatoes lately, and I realized that 2 years ago I wouldn't have cared about it, but now that I actually needed that information, I was like heads down in my research for 2 days. So it's boring only as long as you don't need that. But when you actually need it so badly, it's not boring anymore. So
Yep.
I think that it's more about benefits and features. It's about having that security and that feeling that when not that the relationship doesn't stop when you buy the product, but that the relationships begins when you buy that product. The true friendship, they need to get that, to build, you need to build that trust with your content so that a potential buyer sees that there's content for them even after they've bought from you. And I
Right.
think this is the game changer, when I can see into my future working with you and see that I will benefit from the same support that you showed me when you were trying to have me sign the deal. And that's a great worry right now, because again, we're heading for a recession. I need to know that I can count on my providers and on my business partners, even if I'll have to make some very difficult decisions down the road. So I think, and I'm talking about not just pricing, but also customer support, customer success. I need to know how this will look like. At the beginning, we just lead with the marketing stuff, and through the sale process, we focus on benefits and on how you can help. But I just want, let's say, maybe not a very in-depth, but I want to see how my future will look like working with you. And I want to see how you can help me, besides delivering me a product, besides delivering me a piece of software, besides calling me once every 6 months or once every 12 months when I need to renew the deal. Because there needs to be constant care and cure towards that year, not just when you need to sign a new contract.
Sell something or sign a contract. Yeah. So because everybody's got better at content, and I think that because sometimes certain content hasn't worked, therefore people have to actually try to throw more content at the wall to hope it will stick. What are you seeing that you need to do to cut through the noise as a content creator yourself?
Writing, maybe not more, but being more intentional about how you write and how you address certain issues, and trying to, if you have two different audiences, I don't know, you're selling a SaaS product and you need to um, convince not just the IT guy, but also the team who pays for it, so instead of bombarding them with tons of content, create like 4 pieces of content, 2 for the IT guy and 2 for the money guys, and just work with that. But just make sure that everybody gets the information they need, presented in a way that they can easily understand it. Because if you use the same technical terms that you use for the IT guy to convince, I don't know, the CFO that you're the right partner, you won't convince them, But if you just tailor that message a little bit, so to make sure that the IT guy will understand what you're talking about and appreciate your knowledge, but at the same time, the CFO is also interested in that content, well, that's a winning move, when you consider all the people that are at the same table making that decision. And I know that this involves, let's say, more hours into research and spending more time writing the actual content, because it's not always easy to pick the right words. But instead of producing 100 blog posts that don't convert, I'd rather spend this time in producing, I don't know, 10, and probably some SEO experts will just kill me now, just 10 pieces of content, but that are really well researched, intentional, and have that extra care for the reader, and provide all the resources and answer as many questions as possible, and at the same time give you further guidance. Because assuming you have all the answers is also wrong. Let the space, create that safe space where your reader can ask for more without feeling, I don't know, unprepared or stupid. Nobody likes to look stupid.
I remember I was given some advice very early on in terms of creating content, which was that nobody knows that the blog is any good until they've read it. So there's lots of factors that come to play, because just because you've written it doesn't mean that people are going to read it. and therefore there's things that you need to do to make sure that people can read it.
Yeah, that's 100% true. But I would like to add something, that some people will read it and still don't know how good that is. They're not
Yes.
your audience. So that's another tweak. Sometime, looking for that targeted traffic and trying to optimize everything on the page so that the right people get to read it, and the people who will actually appreciate your content, because sometimes your content might be excellent, but if the wrong people read it, they won't even be able to tell that.
Thank you so much for today. It's been so insightful. I mean, I think that all of us have got something to learn about content. I still don't think that we realize how much the world has changed through COVID. I mean, it was always changing, and the way it accelerated it. And I think we're still learning in terms of ourselves, in terms of what's changed. And I think it will continually change, because, one minute, we thought we were coming out of COVID and everything was brilliant. And then we're now into a possible recession, and, there's wars going on. And it's like, there's constantly change and dynamics that are forcing all kinds of things with us. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight.
Thank you for inviting me. I had so much fun.
Good. Well, I hope you did. And remind people where they can get hold of you.
Twitter, and my name is Emma Pirciu. That would be EMAPIRCIU. And here on LinkedIn. I mean, this is going live on LinkedIn, right? I'm sorry.
It is, yes. And thank you to Anna, if you're still watching, for your comments. I interviewed Anna a couple of maybe months, not just weeks ago. So anyway, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight. It's been great fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.